My wife cheated on me and left me, then said it was just for fun, so I split up with her. She begged me for help again though, so I did this. My wife and I have been married for 12 years. We believe we were married when we were pretty young. She was pretty young, but it felt right to both of us at the time. We were together for about 12 months, and that was enough for us. There were times when I'm not sure if we were really meant to be together, but we knew that we were. My job is pretty good. My brothers and I run a jewelry business together. We started it from scratch and have grown it to a very profitable level, which is always something to be proud of. Some people say it's hard to do business with family, but for us it's been a dream. Since we've never been the type of brothers to always fight, your experience may be very different. My wife, on the other hand, started a cute cafe where people could get pastries, coffee, and books. She's always loved books, and is proud of the fact that reading is a part of who they are. I really didn't like those people before I met her. In any case, I'm a liar. Please bite me. I was actually really excited about the idea because I wanted to help her, so I've paid the rent on the space she's using for the cafe as a favor. Though it's pretty pricey because it's in a nicer part of town, the business is making money, and I was happy about that, because I didn't have to think about rent. I think that's all the information you need now. This is where the story really starts. I am not sure of the exact date, but I believe it was around March when she told me about the new man who came into the shop. She said that he was very good looking. I felt safe around them, and I discovered that we can talk about how beautiful someone is without making it a big deal. The way she kept talking about this guy, on the other hand, was strange. He was said to have seemed like the kind of strong male hero that she reads about in books that women like to read. She does like those kinds of books too. Those women who only talk about books are weird, and I'll never understand why it seems like the cheesiest way for them to find love. Anyway, she talked about this guy for a while longer before it ended. But I have to say that the way she talked about him was a lot like how she talked about the cold Russian hitman who fell in love with a woman in their apartment building's laundry room. That wasn't something I made up. That is taken from a real book that she likes. For the day, that was it. But she told me that he came in the next day and they talked for a long time. His native country was Serbia, and he used to work as a car dealer. But he chose to come to the United States to find a better life. He had to take a while to get back on his feet and find his way around. He was looking for work at nearby car shops because that's what he was good at. It only took me 10 minutes to learn that he was tall, blonde, good-looking, well-dressed, and spoke with an accent. It sounds like he really liked fantasy books like The Lord of the Rings and books set in the Wild West. She usually talks a lot about the people who come into her cafe, so this wasn't strange, but once again, she used a lot of flowery language, and she kind of looked like she was making fun of him. After a while, he stopped being new to her, so she stopped talking about him in great detail. It was clear that he was still a regular at her cafe, and it made me feel a lot better to know that he didn't seem like he was worth long spills every night anymore. He looked just like him, and I even went into her cafe one afternoon to bring her food and saw him sitting in the corner. There was no doubt in my mind that it was him, and he was a pretty good-looking guy. She said that his name was Ivan. Things start to get crazy around this point. There was one night when she got home and had a silly smile on her face. I asked her what was wrong. They talked a lot about books on the way back, she said. Ivan had walked her home. He asked her to go on a date, but she told him she was married and couldn't do that. She said that he was truly sorry, held my hand lovingly, said goodnight, and then walked away. I remember asking her what was making her smile so big, and she said, "It's like something out of a book. I'm not going to lie, that part annoyed me because it seemed like she was romanticizing every contact she had with Ivan. I didn't know that. Because he often went to her coffee shop. They were bound to keep talking to each other almost every day. That would have made me look weak, and she could have told him she didn't have a boyfriend. Once more. There wasn't a need for me to talk about things, even though I had some thoughts on them. I only had to get over my feelings, right? After about a week, my wife came home with a bunch of flowers that she put right into a vase. That's when I knew this wasn't true. She said that Ivan gave it to her as a gift. Not anything special. He told his coworker that he bought a lot of fur. He now has a job, by the way. Her birthday was today. Because he always sees how hard I work, he thought it would be nice to get me some. When she said that, it made my head hurt because she was trying to make it sound like she was a kid who didn't know when someone liked her. I asked her straight out if she knew Ivan liked her a lot. She thought the flowers were just a friendly gesture, even though she said it was clear after he asked her to go on a date. That made no sense to me because, as a guy, you don't get flowers for a girl who turned you down. As a nice thing to do, even if it was because she was married. He was still trying to get in her pants, or maybe he was just trying to get in her pants and not do anything romantic. Getting close to her was easy for him at the time. I knew he wasn't going to stop anytime soon. As it turned out, I was right. 2 days later, my wife got home later than usual. It had been almost 2 hours, and she still hadn't told me she was going to be late. There were 2 calls, but she didn't answer them because she wanted to give it some time. This wasn't the first time she had ever been late coming home. I called a 3rd time, but she already showed up at home, and it was clear that the bubble had moved. You won't believe what happened to me that night. She started talking about how she showed Ivan where the museum was and how they want to get a slice of American pizza because he had never had it before and had only seen it in movies. After that, they walked, talked, ate pizza, and did a bunch of other things I didn't care about. But I let her finish. After she was done, I asked her, "Are you interested in Ivan?" She looked shocked and angry and said that of course she wasn't, that the only person she felt that way about was me. He was in a new country and didn't have any close friends or family to show him around and answer his questions. She was just trying to make him feel welcome. All of this didn't really convince me. I told her straight out that she couldn't see Ivan anymore. Yes, that led to a big fight. She talked a lot of nonsense about how terrible it was to feel threatened, how nothing was fair, and how it should stop feeling that way. My anger was getting out of hand, but I was able to keep it in check. I stood my ground, though, and told her she shouldn't do anything else with Ivan outside of school. Since he was a customer, it was okay for him to come by her coffee shop. Things weren't meant to get worse after that, though. I told her to think about what she would do if she were me and a Serbian girl came to buy a ring and then took her on a tour of the town. I'd understand, she said, but I think we all know that's not true, do we? To make a long story short, I slept on the couch. No one is surprised by that, but it's a good thing I stopped hearing about Ivan and all his problems. That was enough to make me feel better. Another time, I knew she would be talking to him at her shop, but there was only so much that could happen there. Plus, she was going home at the same time every night, so I didn't think anything was wrong. I started to think something was wrong when I went to my wife's cafe one afternoon and she wasn't there. Ivan wasn't there either, but I wasn't sure if he would have been anyway, so that didn't really matter. But the fact that she wasn't there meant a lot because that doesn't happen very often. It occurred to me to wait for her to return, or ask one of her workers where she had gone, but I chose not to make a fuss about it. Coming up the street with their arms around each other, I saw her and Ivan as I got back into my car from across the street. I really wanted to cross the street, beat up the guy, and swear at her. But I stayed in the car, watched them walk into the coffee shop, and then I drove off. That happened yesterday, and it was really hard for me to understand what happened. I meant to talk to her about it as soon as she got home, but I believe that knowing something that someone else doesn't know gives you a lot of power. Also, it will help me spot other lies that people might tell. In this case, when she got home, I asked her how her day was, and she said it was pretty normal, and that she hadn't been anywhere. I don't know where Ivan is, that's why I'm here. Should I talk to her about it right away, or should I try to find out more about it first? I'm leaning towards the second option because I'm beginning to think that there might be something going on up my nose, and I think that if I approach her, all of my chances of finding the truth would go away. Please tell me what you think. What's up, everyone? It's me, from that post about the wife with the cafe and the Serbian man. Okay, I'm back with a pretty big news. We should talk about it. I found a lot. I had to work a little to get the confidence, but at some point I chose to always seek the truth, no matter what the price. I have never been a fan of the idea of looking at your partner's phone, but I knew I had to do it in this case, even though it made me feel bad. I did it as soon as I could, which was while she was sleeping. It was no surprise that she had Ivan in her message app, and the two of them had been talking a lot. Since it was WhatsApp, it was simple for me to save the whole exchange as a text file, which she sent to my phone. Without a doubt, I got rid of the proof. I looked through her gallery, and only found a few pictures of them happy together in public that didn't really point the finger at them. I also sent them to my phone. Once more, proof was erased. All of that took me 5 minutes, and I put her phone back where it ought to be. After that, I read everything on my phone, which made it less likely that someone would check on you if you wake up suddenly. I saw so many crazy things that they made my head spin. If you think this part of the talk is horrible, I've written it down for you. It happened after they talked about a book that my wife had suggested. Let's not use her real name and call my wife Clarice instead. In a way, Clarice, the main characters, made me think of us. I had the same thought. The hot, mysterious guy and the arty girl who couldn't decide between him and her boyfriend. In a message right after that, a lot of hot sex scenes. That part makes me think of us in a special way. I agree that sex is always good, but for you, it's a husband. After that, a silly laugh emoji. The laugh emojis are from Clarice. I agree. And I think that's what makes it even more fun and exciting. It doesn't feel right. I've never cheated on my partner, but I don't really feel bad about it either. That's not right, but that's why it's so hot. Yes, and I don't want this to end. It drove me crazy. It was early in the morning. At that point, I couldn't stay behind her, so I left the house and went for a walk. I would have done something crazy. I was pretty sure of it. After wandering around town for what seemed like 5 hours, it was only 3 a.m. when I got back. She was also still asleep. Have you ever found out that your wife is cheating on you and then found out that she laughs at you while doing everything behind your back? That's what really drove me crazy, she was basically. It wasn't like cheating would be okay anyway. She was still asleep when I got back. I grabbed her phone, went to that part of her chat with Ivan, and recorded it on her phone. It was important for me to make it clear that there was no doctoring going on. There was no doubt that Clarice felt like she was living out one of her stupid books. But it was disgusting that I had to be the victim in it all. She has no idea that I know this. The split is getting worse. This really can't go any other way. I want to see her fall too. I also want to see Ivan go down. I'm not sure how I'll do it, but I need them both to hurt really badly. Change too. It was done, and it was beautiful. This is the end of the story of Ivan, a Serbian man, and Clarice, his cheating wife who loves books. They didn't know they should have been much more worried about me during this whole thing. I'm going to skip the dull parts of the story. One day, Clarice went to work, and I parked my Uber across the street. I saw the process server walk into the cafe and give her the divorce papers in front of everyone. That was great, and then we got in our car and drove off. The whole day at work went well, and by the end of the day there wasn't a single message or missed call from Clarice. She knew she had been cheated on, and pleading wouldn't help. That's how I saw it. So, she came back that night crying a river. It isn't coming out of her nose. To be honest, she looked like she was a complete mess. I felt a little sad when I saw her that way, and I thought it was because of the pieces of love that were still there. It didn't last long, though. She asked over and over what she did wrong. Was it Ivan? There was a lot I knew that she didn't know. She must have tried to figure out if her plan had any leaks before she realized what I knew. I wasn't sure if I should tell her I knew about Ivan or not, but I promised her I would. That day, I told her I saw her, and that I had been walking with her hand in mine, but I didn't tell her anything else. That's when she suddenly gained confidence and began to beg and insult me at the same time. She said that wasn't a reason to get a divorce over that. It was wrong to keep seeing him. No, there wasn't anything going on between them, and I was being paranoid. I was looking down on you. It looked like she didn't know whether to be nice or rude to me. I finally told her to leave my house, and she did. That's where the breakup really starts. I had a great time with that part. A lot more money than she does, which means I have a lot more to lose in a divorce. But I had a lot more to spend on good lawyers, which I did. Get a good lawyer when you get a divorce. Trust me, it's worth it. I had a lot of pictures of the two of them together after I told them I was worried about it, and I also had the text messages that clearly showed they were cheating on each other. Also, my amazing lawyer was able to show me transactions in her shared account that looked like they were used to pay for Ivan. The dates on some transactions matched the dates in the whole text message transcript where he thanks her for different things. It was clear she was spending our money on her boyfriend from Serbia. I also thought the lawyer did a good job of making her look like a gold digger. It was fun to watch. She fought hard, but I really didn't see anything important. I'm not a perfect guy, but I don't have any flaws that would make a woman want to leave me. Things were really good for me after the breakup was over. I kept my house and car. There was no demand for alimony from me because of my pretty obvious cheating and the fact that I had set her up with a way to make money. Judge, I love you. The car I bought for her was hers to keep. That didn't bother me enough for me to worry about it. And it was easy for me to take what I took when she didn't leave the divorce with nothing. This is my favorite part now. Ivan was hard for me to get back at. It was really tough. He was leaving the cafe one day, though. I went with him down the street and around the corner. I got his attention, told him who I was, and hit him hard in the jaw. He looked very shocked when I broke his lip and threw him to the ground. It hurt like hell. I didn't want to get into a fight on the street, but I would have, if one came up. I believe he knew he couldn't take the moral high ground in this case because he got up and left. It was nice. He knew he was messing with a married woman, so I wish I could have done more. But that was enough for me, and it's likely the most I could have done without getting charged with a crime. Then Clarice. Do you remember the rent I paid for her? It was due again, and it cost a lot because her cafe was in a nice area of town. It was supposed to be due on May 1st, but she called me at the end of May crying and saying she needed to pay the cafe rent but didn't have the money. After she begged and begged, I told her to sell the car to get the money. Then, I hung up the phone. During that week, she called several times, but I never picked up the phone. A spoiler. When she called me to swear at me, I found out she sold the car. She told me it was bad that I couldn't help her in any way. I told her it was bad to think that cheating on me would be fun and exciting. That was all she could say. I'm waiting until May of next year to see how hard it is for her to pay the rent. If the gods have their way, she'll also lose the shop, especially since she can't get in touch with my bookkeeper. It has been nice. To be honest, I'm now single, have a lot of money, and am very happy. It hurt like hell to go through the breakup, betrayal, and cheating, but you have to move on, right? I'm going to do that. Thanks to all of you for staying and for your kind words and suggestions. Thank you very much. I hope I'll never have to write another post. Goodbye.